G'day everyone. One of the really hard things when you're trying to teach photographers is off-camera flash. As a working professional photographer, I do also do in my winter periods workshops, and some of those workshops do cover off-camera flash. And I've found it's a very, very hard thing to teach beginners that have no experience at all, particularly when you start to talk about doing high-speed sync and things like that, and just how the whole concept of using these off the camera actually works. It's very hard to explain to them using conventional remote controls how to do it. So Profoto have come up with this amazing attachment here that's called the Profoto Connect, and it really is incredible because it's designed for those people exactly that have trouble with working out how to do this in a very easy fashion. What basically they're just used to using their phone, and that's the beauty of how the system works, because it uses their mobile phone to adjust the exposure. Now this has a couple of settings. It's a very, very small unit. If you look at the size of this, so it's a tiny unit. There's only a couple of controls that you can see there, which is off, auto and manual. Now the simple way that this works is they just turn it to auto if they want to have the camera take over all of the exposure for them, and this will give them a base exposure which is normally fairly correct. And then if they want to alter that, they can then do that through the app, which I'll show you when we go through the actual shoot. And then if you did want to, they become more experienced, they can then also go onto the manual setting there as well, which is great if you want to do things manual. And it's often the way that I work. I will usually start off with doing an auto exposure, which is using TTL to get a base exposure or an exposure that's fairly close to what I like. And then I'll just use the manual settings to get it really dialed in, and then nothing will change. So this is an incredible little system that is used to give that to people that don't have much experience at all. So all I have to do to get this is to just connect this tiny little device onto the camera, and then basically just turn it to the auto position. You'll see there'll be a light on the top as well. You get 30 hours charge time from this, so that's an incredible amount of time. And then once you've got your TTL exposure, you can then, if you want to, go to manual. But if you do want to do just run and gun type work, that's where you can just leave it on TTL, and that's fantastic, and that's what I often use for weddings and events and things like that. I just leave it on auto. And like I said, this can be totally changed in the iPhone app as well. So the great thing here particularly is that everyone now uses their mobile phones, and they use their mobile phones for everything. So having these apps on the mobile phone where they can control them makes sense for a lot of people that are using their apps all the day, using the camera apps and everything else. Now the Profoto app you use is just this one here. You just download it off the App Store, and then if I open it up, you'll see at the moment it will probably say no connected devices. So if I grab the camera and turn this on, it should find that's there. So at the moment you can see it's now saying it's connected. And then if I wanted to adjust the power, all I have to do then is to press the plus or minus. So all you'll do is press here and it will take it down. I'm just trying to find it because I've got it behind me. And then you'll go on the other side if you want to press that one. And you'd go plus. So that's as simple as you go there. So it's very, very easy to change your exposure. Now if I turned it over to manual, you'll see then all I get is a plus and minus. So then you can, like I said, you can do the same thing. You can just dial in your exposure plus, or you can go on the other side and take it to manual. So it seems to be a really great system. And I think that's really great for people particularly that are used to using your iPhone apps and things like that. And having such an easy system that is so basic for beginners particularly is amazing, and you've got this simplicity that Profoto is used to doing, you know, and it is designed very simplistic. And in fact, initially I thought, oh, I wouldn't use this because I have the Air remote, but having a look at it and seeing how small this is and how simplistic it actually is, I'm probably going to get one because I would like to use this for my wedding and events, where I do mostly shoot in TTL because it's so fast paced and I'm moving so fast that I haven't got the time to do most other things. So having that ability to put that on auto, and then if I need to just conveniently move it over to manual, I can. So that's one great thing there as well. The other thing too is I use the Profoto B10, and I use that extensively, and having the controls built into here as well for that makes total sense to me. So if I'm controlling the B10 from here, I can also be controlling my off-camera flash from here as well, the A1X. So let me know what you think about that. But what we'll do is we'll go inside and have a look at how it works in the studio. Okay, so let's have a look at how simplistic this system actually is to use. So all I've done is I've put the Profoto Connect on top of the camera, and I'm going to light Susie here. She's a great model. I'm going to light Susie with the Profoto A1X on a light stand that you can just see over here with an umbrella. It'll just soften the light a little bit, so that's what I'm going to do there. Now with this, all I'm going to do is I'm going to use 1/25th of a second, f1.8, and I'm going to be on ISO 100. And I'm shooting manual. I always do shoot manual. You could just shoot in aperture mode if you wanted to, but I'm just going to shoot manual. And all I'm going to do is I'm just going to come in and take a shot of Susie, and straight away that's given me a good base exposure if you look through there at that exposure, and it really is quite nice. It looks much nicer if you look through the viewfinder than it does on the back though, but it's not overexposed at all, and I'll show you these images on the computer screen anyway. So, and that setting, if you look, is given 4. So if you look over here, you can see that the settings on the flash, I'm hoping that you can see that, is 4 on the flash. Now if I wanted to say make the image darker, all I have to do is to open up the iPhone, and it will connect. It automatically connects through the app like you see here. Now all I can do then is to just go minus. Say if I wanted to make it down say 2 stops, I'll just do it so I can show you a big difference. It'll be now -2. I can then just come over, grab there, do another shot, and you'll now see that when we look at this, so if we look at, you'll see the image is darker. If we compare the two of them, that's the darker one and that's the lighter one. So you can see there how the exposure has changed between the two of them. So that's how that works. If I wanted to make it brighter, well then all I have to do is go and use the app again. And if I go the opposite side, now you can just use the top if you want to and just scroll as well. So if we said, say, make it plus, I'll just go +1 and take another shot. And now you'll see that it will start to be a little bit lighter. So if I bring that back now and then show you the images through here, you'll see that it's brighter again. So that's how easy that is to control, and lovely and simple. And then obviously, like I said, if you want to, you can just move this up or down depending on how you want the image to look. So it's that simple. And then you'll see each time that I was taking those flashes that it put more exposure in. Now it's 5.1. Whereas before on that standard exposure it was on 4.1, so, or 4. So it just shows you how easy the system works. Now if I wanted to work in manual exposure, all I've got to do is, say for instance, this is how I use my normal work. I'll put it into auto and I'll balance, make sure everything's back at 0, which it is. If I come in and then grab a normal photo of Susie, grab that image, I'm happy with that exposure actually. Now the thing with TTL is that every exposure you do, if the light changes or something changes, all your exposures can move all over the place. So the great part now is, all I have to do to lock this in is to just turn this over here. So if I go on this unit itself, go over to manual, and that will lock that exposure in. So now no matter where I move and take all of these shots, the exposure is not going to change at all, and that's usually the way that I work. And again, if you wanted to, you'll notice now that this just shows plus or minus. So if I wanted to take away exposure, I could just bring down here. So if I went down 1 stop like that, and then do the same shot, and then it'll be slightly darker. So that's how easy this system is. I mean, if you're in aperture mode, again, it will just work so easy. So we'll turn the camera to aperture mode. That won't matter then what your settings are. All you have to do is change your aperture that you want. So let's go to aperture mode. So what I'm going to do now is I'm on f8 and I'm on 1/60th of a second. I'm just going to see what this does. And then you'll see that it's automatically taken that exposure. So it's just that simple. So if you want to work in manual, aperture mode, whatever mode you'd like to work in, the Profoto Connect is going to get the exposure for you pretty well spot on right from the start. And looking at those results, I'm really happy with them actually. It's really good, very simple to use. People that use their mobile phones, they'll just pick this up so easily anyway. But overall, great system. And it really is nice. Like I said, the way I work would be to go into auto and then I'd switch it over to manual if I wanted to, or I could just work continuously in auto if I'm doing something like events or something like that, and I don't have to worry about anything changing, and I know the exposure is going to be pretty well close to spot on each time. Stay tuned because I will use this out on real shoots with real models and things like that. I've got a wedding this weekend too where I'll use it and see how it goes, so stay tuned for those reviews as well.